Diplomacy, energy, and finance have overlapped in a strange ways over the past few weeks. BRICS nations have been constructing their sovereignty's infrastructure using peace, energy, and finance. Moscow initiated peace talks between Israel and Iran. Ethiopia signed a nuclear deal. BRICS Pay got a green light to launch, part of a wider trend in which states are building their own payment systems to retain ownership of their data, transactions, and growth. Each region is at a different stage in the process, but the path is similar: sovereignty through building independent systems. Western nations, led by the United States, have pushed back through political lobbying and criticism, as you will see. What was telling is the ease with which the world order is shifting its center of gravity. The message is simple: the structural transition of power is already in motion and is gaining momentum. Will this eventually lead to a rebalancing of economic power, or will we end up with new rivalries and divisions? This is Think BRICS, connecting the dots of real trends that are building the world we will live in. Here is the four big stories of the past week that caught our attention. Iran-Israel diplomacy via Moscow. Expanding nuclear and energy cooperation in the BRICS. Trump's Dedollarization comment. BRICS Pay, the next stage in financial decoupling. Let's start with the Middle East. The recent progress toward a Gaza peace plan has been framed in the US as a diplomatic success for President Trump. On paper, the agreement aims to stabilize the region and reopen dialogue channels that have been frozen for years. In practice, its future is uncertain. Implementation has been slow, marked by delays and mutual accusations between Israel and Hamas. Analysts note that both sides accepted the terms mainly under external pressure from Washington and regional governments. For Israel, the goal is to avoid international isolation. For Hamas, participation prevents complete isolation after the loss of key allies. What's interesting is how Russia re entered the picture. Prime Minister Netanyahu contacted President Putin, signaling Israel's desire to avoid future confrontation with Iran. During their call, the two leaders discussed the Iranian nuclear issue and coordination on Syria's stabilization efforts. A few days later, Syria's interim president Ahmed al-Sharaa visited Moscow, where Putin described relations as exclusively friendly and explored expanded cooperation in energy, transport, and ports while maintaining Russia's military presence in the Mediterranean. Russia relayed Israel's message of restraint to Tehran and reaffirmed support for Iran's civilian nuclear program, signing a new memorandum for the construction of small modular reactors in Iran, confirming a diplomatic realignment centered on Moscow. That agreement between Rosatom and the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran was signed on September 24th during World Atomic Week. It's a plan for locally built, Russian-designed reactors meant to strengthen Iran's energy independence. So, in the same moment Washington was reimposing sanctions, Russia was providing Iran with a development pathway and passing peace messages between Tehran and Jerusalem. The symbolism is clear: diplomacy and technology are now moving together, and both are shifting away from the traditional Western monopoly on mediation. What do you think? Do you think this balance will hold, or do you think Moscow can handle this in a good way? If the Middle East showed political movement, Moscow showed industrial momentum. The twin events, World Atomic Week and Russian Energy Week, became a showcase for what practical cooperation among BRICS and partner nations now looks like. World Atomic Week celebrated 80 years of Russia's nuclear industry and hosted the BRICS Nuclear Energy Platform Conference on September 26. Delegations arrived from across the global south. Brazil, South Africa, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, Vietnam, and the United Arab Emirates, and more. The platform's coordinator, Elsie Poole, revealed that BRICS and its partners already account for about one-third of all operating nuclear plants worldwide and over 70% of those under construction. By 2030, that figure is expected to reach two-thirds of global new capacity. This projection isn't just ambition, it's backed by concrete projects. One highlight was the signing of an action plan between Rosatom and Ethiopian Electric Power for the design and construction of Ethiopia's first nuclear power plant. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed emphasized how nuclear energy complements the country's existing hydropower capacity, such as the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, and secures long-term energy reliability for industry and agriculture. Russia, through Rosatom, currently leads the world in active nuclear construction, holding close to 90% of the international market for building reactors abroad. Moscow also remains the only nation covering the entire nuclear chain, from fuel cycle to plant operation. Immediately after Atomic Week came Russian Energy Week, held October 15th, 17th, under the theme Created the Energy of the Future Together. 85 countries attended. Energy ministers, executives, and analysts discussed new logistics and partnerships emerging as the world adjusts to sanctions and shifting supply routes. President Putin highlighted the ongoing transformation in global energy flows. Europe's decision to reduce reliance on Russian energy, he said, had triggered higher prices and industrial slowdowns, while the global south gained new access to stable supplies. Russia expects to produce about 510 million tons of oil in 2025, roughly 10% of global output, while strengthening ties with OPEC Plus and building new export channels eastward and southward. Within Russian Energy Week, the BRICS Energy Research Cooperation Platform held its annual meeting, finalizing a roadmap for 2025-2030 that includes joint studies, technology exchange, and policy coordination. India's participation was particularly noted, not only because of its presence at the forum, but because it came the same moment President Trump's false claim that Prime Minister Modi had promised to stop importing Russian oil. New Delhi quickly denied that any such conversation occurred, reaffirming that India's energy policy remains guided by national interest. This balance between open cooperation and national sovereignty defined both Atomic and Energy Week. It's an emerging model: build capacity at home, trade where needed, and rely on partnership instead of dependence. Quick note before we continue. This channel runs on viewer support, not corporate funding. If this analysis helps, support us here or on Substack. You can also help with a like, comment, or by sharing this video. Now let's move on with the latest from Trump. Back in Washington, President Trump turned his attention once again to BRICS. In remarks following his meeting with Argentine President Javier Milei, he claimed the bloc was created to destroy the dollar. He even suggested his tariff threats has convinced countries to drop their membership bids. Official data shows otherwise.
And now the domination like BRICS. I told anybody wants to be in BRICS, that's fine, but we're going to put tariffs on your nation. Everybody dropped out. They're all dropping out of BRICS. BRICS was an attack on the dollar. And I said, you want to play that game, I'm going to put tariffs on all of your product coming into the U.S. They said, like I said, we're dropping out of BRICS. And BRICS is like, they don't even talk about it anymore.
BRICS now counts 10 full members, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, the United Arab Emirates, and Indonesia, along with 10 partner nations, ranging from Nigeria to Vietnam. In other words, expansion is accelerating. And while BRICS leaders insist dollarization is not a political crusade, the trend toward currency diversification is unmistakable. Russia and India, for instance, have begun trading in rubles, rupees, and yuan for oil and goods, reducing reliance on US currency systems. Other member states are developing national switches and clearinghouses to handle cross border payments independently. Economists point out that dollarization now moves through market logic rather than political slogans. Nations are simply adapting to a multipolar trade environment where risk is distributed instead of centralized. Even India, despite its diplomatic balance with the United States, continues to prioritize energy affordability and stability over external pressure. Officials there describe the policy as guided by consumer interest and security. The conclusion: Trump's narrative of BRICS as an anti US project doesn't align with what's actually happening. The bloc's focus is practical: finance, trade, and resource security, all adjusted to today's realities. To be clearer, the process of de-dollarization continues independently of the BRICS. The financial side of this global shift is taking shape through new payment systems designed for national control and real-time connection. Early this week, we had the pleasure of meeting in person with Andrei Mikhailishin, CEO of BRICS Pay, who confirmed that the platform will launch at the BRICS Municipal Forum in 10 days, an event we will cover for you. But it's not only BRICS Pay. Across Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, countries are developing similar infrastructures linking banks, fintechs, and governments on secure digital rails. These systems bring transparency, faster transfers, lower costs, and stronger local growth. They reduce fraud, improve tax collection, and open opportunities for startups through shared technical standards. Each region advances differently, but the direction is consistent: sovereignty through payments. National switches are becoming the new standard for connecting financial institutions and ensuring autonomy in the digital economy. If you have questions for Andrei, share them in the comments below. We will meet him again soon. Taken together, these developments outline a busy month. In the Middle East, Russia has become a key mediator, carrying messages between Israel and Iran while expanding civilian nuclear ties with Tehran. In Moscow, BRICS nations have advanced a shared agenda of nuclear growth, energy collaboration, and strategic independence. In Washington, President Trump's comments on BRICS reveal how seriously the US now views this evolving alliance. And with BRICS Pay about to launch, the financial dimension of multipolar cooperation is entering a practical phase. It has been a week that links diplomacy, energy, and technology into one picture, a picture of nations experimenting with new ways to cooperate, trade, and sustain growth outside the traditional frameworks. We will continue to track how these systems develop and what they mean for sovereignty, stability, and the next chapter of global economics. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for our coverage from the BRICS Municipal Forum.